For this lesson, we are going to be working with box and whisker plots, and we're going to be displaying the medians of the data set. The one thing we need to remember before we begin doing anything is we have to put our list of data from least to greatest, because when we were dealing with medians, that's exactly what we had to do. So let's start the problem, and you will see there's a lot of new vocabulary words for this problem. So the smallest number, I'm going to put a little check mark as I go ahead and I mark it. I see I have two number twos. And then I go from a 2, I'm looking at all the data. Yep, you probably saw the 4 is next. I am going to now go to my 6s, and I see, wow, I have 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 6s. And now I'm going to go ahead and I see the next number has to be an 8, and I have 1, 2, 3 8s. So there's 1, 2, 3 8s. And the last that I see that is not marked is my 9, and that should be the end. So double check. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers in our data set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Well, just looking at the data from least to greatest, our lower extreme is our lowest number. So the lower extreme is a 2. The upper extreme is our highest number. The upper extreme here is a 9. When we're looking at this now, the first thing we're going to do is we've got to find the median, the middle of the data that is given to us. So again, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that tells me that I've got to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my first half. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is my second half. And since I have an even number of data points, you can see that the median is just going to be 6, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the math for you. So 6 plus 6, just in case the numbers aren't that easy, and we're going to divide it by 2. So we do get 12 divided by 2, and so our median is a 6. And there it is. So right here is where my median is. And we know that that is a 6. And that is actually our second quartile. But we also, and I'm writing it in, we also call it our median. So now, remember, we're going to be working all with medians when it comes to solving this problem. So I am going to go ahead now, and I am going to find the median of the lower part. That's why I drew my division line there. Here is my median, my big median, the second quartile. Now, my first quartile is actually going to go ahead, and it will be the median of this first part. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's pretty easy. Here's 2 numbers. Here's 2 numbers. So right here, I know that this is going to be my first quartile. All right, so I'm going down to where my data is listed, and I am going to go ahead and write in my 4. So for the third quartile, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to find the median on this side of our upper numbers. And I see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I knew that. So here is 2 here, and this side 2 here. So this is the median, the middle. And that is my third quartile. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to list my third quartile down below. So I have everything right where I need it. And when we're making this box and whisker plot, what we end up doing, you'll see it's a box and it looks like cat whiskers. And we're going to actually find the interquartile range. Well, the interquartile range is really easy. It's just your third quartile minus your first quartile. So for our interquartile range, my third quartile was an 8. My first quartile was a 4. So the interquartile range is actually equal to 4. All important information for us to know. So now let's see, how do we go about graphing this? We're going to start with our lower extreme. And I'm going to put a dot where the 2 is. I'm going to go to my upper extreme, my 9, and I'm going to put a dot where my 9 is. And now when I'm going ahead and I am marking my first quartile, my second quartile, which is the median, my third quartile, I make little lines, and you'll see because we're going to end up making a box. So the first quartile was at the 4. There it is. The second quartile, which was the median, was a 6. And the third quartile was an 8. And this is where you connect your quartiles. And you draw a line to your extremes. So to me, it kind of reminds me of a cat's mouth box. And here's my whiskers that go to my extremes. And that would be the graph that would display all of the information from these data points. And what you need to remember, this is really important because there will be questions in the future, and they will ask you, this gets broken up for medians into 4 parts. And from here to here is 25%. And from this first quartile to the second quartile is 25%. And from the second quartile to the third quartile, it's 25%. And this last one from here to our upper extreme, it is also a 25%. So the information that we can pull from this is we know that our interquartile range will represent 50% of our data, while 25% of the data is from the lower extreme to the upper extreme. And there will be some word problems that we will go ahead and do in the future that you'll be dealing with those different percents. But this is your box and whisker plot right there. Not too hard, just need to be able to find medians. So let's look at our second one. I see that I have a 35, 60, 20, 80, 95, 15. Wow, it goes low. 40, 85, and a 75. So I'm going to put these in numerical order. And as I do that, I'm going to, again, mark them off. And I remember saying, oh my goodness, it goes low. So we know that we're starting with our 15 there. And from the 15, we go to our 20. And from the 20, I'm looking for my next number up. It is definitely a 35. And I'm marking that. Remember, always mark your points that you're listing. My next one is a 40. Looking at my data, the next one would be a 60. Again, looking at the data, the next is a 75. And I only have an 80 and an 85 left. And actually, I have a 95 also. So here I have, let's see, I left off with my 75. I have an 80. And I have, so I've marked that off. I have my 85. And I have a 95. So I'm going to double check to make sure, because I didn't mark those off. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 data points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have them totally all listed. So now I'm going to find my median. And with 9 data points, the second quartile, or the median that comes from that, is pretty easy to find. So let's, again, count, and I'm going to mark it and separate it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side. So here's my first half of my data. Here is my second half. There's 4. And here is my median, or my Q2. So looking at the data, let's start filling in. It's easy. The lower quartile is the lowest number. The lower extreme is the lowest number. The upper extreme is the highest number. The first quartile now, we want the median. And when we're looking at this, we are going to, I see that I have an even number. So I'm going to have to go ahead and add 20 plus 35. And I'm going to divide it by 2. Well, we know our 20 plus our 35 divided by 2 is equal to let me write that first. I didn't want to take up too much space. A 55 over 2, which is 27.5. So it is part. It has a decimal to it, and that's okay. So this is our Q1. Right there, our first quartile, 27.5. The median, again, was our second quartile, and that was a 60. So let's make sure that we do have it written there. Second quartile is our big median. That's where we always start making our box and whisker plots. All right, now we're going to find the third quartile. In the third quartile, again, I'm going to have to go ahead and I'm going to add 80 plus 85. And I divide it by 2 because here is my middle of those, just like this was my middle. And I end up with 65 divided by 2. And when we do that math, our quartile Q3 is going to be equal to 82.5. Third quartile, 82.5. All right, so as we're looking at the interquartile range, we know we're going to take Q3 minus Q1. So for the interquartile range, it's 82.5 minus the first quartile was 27.5. So for our interquartile range, we end up with a 55. Okay, here we go for the graphic. Are you ready? We got this. I am going to go ahead and go down to my number line, and I'm going to notice it's counting by tens. So we're going to have to estimate where we put some of our points. For the lower extreme, I am putting it, this would be like where my 15 is. There's my lower extreme. It is a dot. For my upper extreme, again, it's a 95. So it would be kind of like right here. All right. For the first quartile, 27.5. I'm thinking it's like right here. So I'm just going to draw my line. And I am going to even label that 27.5. So I remember that. My median was at 60. Well, that one is easy. Here it is. And my third quartile was 82.5. So I'm just going to draw a little line here, and I'm going to label it 82.5. And again, with your medians, you draw little straight lines. So we are going to connect our box. We are going to go ahead and connect to the extremes. And when we're looking at this, we see that we have our three medians, we have our lower extreme, our upper extreme, and the interquartile range is from this line to this one. And it is 55 points long. Again, each one of these parts are worth 25%, just like we saw over there. So hopefully, Box and Whisker, you do see the cat that I see, but it's not hard. You just work with the medians of the data. If this video was helpful to you today, please add a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more Math with Marcia. See you again soon.